Hello and welcome to Tracy Mommy Reads. I am back again with another video. Today is the first book review of 2025, and we are going to be talking about Liane Moriarty's book, Here One Moment. Liane, I don't know that I've ever said her name out loud, but Here One Moment is the book that we're going to be discussing today. So let me set the scene for you, if you will. Imagine you are on a flight. Perhaps you're on your way home, or you're flying out to a travel destination. Maybe you're going for work. Maybe you're going to visit family. But you're on a plane. And it's reached cruising altitude, so everything's fine, peachy. You're in the air, and things are going great, And then all of a sudden, a little woman who maybe is in her 60s, she stands up and she starts down the aisle. Nothing to be alarmed about. You can get up and stand up on planes. You can stretch. You can walk to the lavatories at either end of the plane. This is nothing, no cause for alarm. Okay, but now this little lady, she starts pointing at people as she's going down the aisle. And she's calling out numbers, and other random things are spewing from her mouth. And initially you're thinking, oh, that poor lady, she has like dementia or something. She thinks she's somewhere else. What is she talking about? And she's starting to attract the attention of other passengers on the plane. But pretty soon you realize that this lady is going down the aisle, pointing at every single person. And what she is doing is she is telling them the age and the manner in which they're going to die. Yes. That's what she's doing. 72, heart attack. 49, lung cancer. 6, drowning. This and that. I mean, could you imagine? That's what happens in this book, Here One Moment. And initially, as I mentioned, people think that she's just some confused little old lady. They don't even know what she's saying, what she's talking about, because nobody, is really paying her any attention. But then it becomes pretty clear that she's making these predictions and has this prophecy, and immediately the tone or the mood changes from one of concern for her safety or her well-being to alarm, to disbelief, to now fear and safety for individual own being, because who is this lady? Is she right? What's going on? How would she know that? Type thing. So yeah, that is pretty much the initial premise and plot of Here One Moment. And it is what drew me into the book. Just the blurb, when I read that in the blurb, I was like, well, now I need to know, was she right? Did the stuff happen? And how does she know? Who is she? So that part on the plane, I feel like it was so cleverly written by the author, because we know nothing about this woman. And it's even told, the way that things are happening is even told in like a third person voice. And they're referring to her as the woman. The woman stands up. The woman does this. The woman. So it's giving her a very ominous presence, like she may be otherworldly, or something, or somebody that's all knowing, and maybe actually predicting things that are going to come true, right? So as you start to dive into the book, we get more backstory on the woman, and we, come to learn her name is Cherry. And something else that I liked about it is that before we even get a whole lot of backstory on Cherry, and before all the passengers have even left the airport, the author is giving us these little breadcrumbs of almost like 6 degrees of separation of how Cherry may be connected to these people. And I felt like that made it even more plausible that perhaps she knew what she was talking about, with regards to what their fates entailed. And then, like I said, we start to get more backstory on Cherry. We start to get follow up on her predictions and some of the passengers. And, the book itself, this will lead me into some of the things I didn't like. So the book itself is pretty long. I think it's let me see how many pages we're talking about here. 512 pages. Nothing to sneeze at, people. That's a lot of pages for a book like this, because I will tell you, while out the gate, you have this, you're off, we're off to the races. Once we start getting into Cherry's like background and, all of that stuff, it slows down considerably. Okay. There is some like on the edge of your seat type moments, like I said, as we get to what happened with some of the passengers and whether or not her predictions came true. But overall, I felt like a lot of the information that we got on Cherry, I don't know that we needed to really know, as it relates to this great opening and what you're basing this book around. Like, some of that we didn't really need to know. Okay. And I will say that when we got to like the ending, or we got to the main core of what was happening in this book and how and why Cherry like did what she did and had those connections and those type of things, it wasn't something supernatural like I was thinking or hoping. So, I'm just going to leave that there, and you can do with it what you will. But I don't know. I felt like the ending was kind of anticlimactic. I mean, I know that a big part of it had to do with the old adage, you never know when it's your last day, so live each life to the fullest. I mean, that is definitely the overarching message that this book, was delivering, even in its fictional form. But I was excited because towards the, first half of it, going into the first half, it was obvious that that's what is supposed to happen here. It's obvious it was a reminder. We know that. But it was very light, because you're just really so into the story and trying to figure out who is Cherry, how does she do this, what does she know, and all of that. But it just got a little bit heavy-handed for me towards the end. There was some parts where we got even more of the 6 degrees of separation that, I was like, oh, okay, this is pretty cool. As we got to know how she knew people on the plane, what her connection was to them, what their connection was to her, and, things like that. So I thought that was pretty clever. But just overall, I don't know that it should have taken as long as it took to finish that story. And what I mean not from the point of view as a reader, but just as an author. I feel like it took too long to tie that story up. As like on a plane, there's a couple of hundred passengers, but I think they focused on, I want to say at least 10, at least 10 passengers. So we were getting little feeds and little updates from their lives as to what happened to them, based on her predictions and this and that. And it became a lot to keep up with after a while. When things started happening, things stopped happening. It was a lot. It was a lot. I enjoyed it to a point, but then I felt like I was just like, okay, when is this going to be over? You know what I mean? I wasn't even interested anymore in the fates of people, because it seemed like to me, there was a part of the book where it's like we got off track from what this was supposed to be about, or what I thought it was supposed to be about. And maybe shame on me. Maybe I went into it looking for something that I was never going to find. And then was disappointed when I didn't find it, But, that's just my take on it. I like if you're looking for a book that's more character study than something that is supernatural or thrilling, then you probably would enjoy this book. Again, I think I went into it thinking one thing and something totally different happened for me in the end. So, it does put it to the forefront of your mind, obviously, as you're reading it. Like, what would you do if you knew the exact age and manner in which you were going to die? Would you change your life? How would you change your life? I mean, I feel like if I got a diagnosis that, first of all, I wouldn't want to know. There's that. I wouldn't want to know. But I feel like if somebody told me, you're going to be 99 and you're going to die in your sleep, the likelihood that I'm going to change anything is probably zero, because that sounds good to me. That's a long time. I'm going to be tired anyway. So, and not to have to suffer or have any pain. But I guess if somebody told me it was a little bit sooner than that, and it was from some affliction or something that I could control, that perhaps I would start making different choices or decisions. And I think that's kind of where the author was going with with some of the characters. And like I said, it was a character study in behavior and things like that. Some of the triggers for the book, there is a mention of, obviously, death. We're talking about death. There are some deaths, I'll say that. So, not only from a conversational standpoint, but there is, stuff written into the book about people dying. There's also some mention of, in Cherry's her backstory in the book, there is mention of the occult or tarot cards or, that type of spirituality type thing. So if you're not into that or you don't want to read about that, because I know a lot of people with their maybe religious beliefs or what have you, that's not something that they vibe with or that they want to read about. So, I mean, it's peppered in as it relates to her mother, but it's there. So, I just thought it would be worth mentioning if that's not really something you want to read about. So again, thriller, suspense book, past, present storylines. And it may take you a minute to get through it, depending on what type of reader you are. I don't regret reading it. I mean, it reinforced some, like I said, some notions about making sure that you're living the type of life that you want to live now. It did provide some entertainment. It just, like I said, the second half of the book, it fell flat for me. So there's that. Here One Moment by Liane Moriarty. If you haven't read Here One Moment and you feel like I was way off and I missed something, please do let me know in the comments. I'd appreciate it. Maybe I need to get a different perspective on the book. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. Make sure that you like this video. And if you have not already subscribed to my channel, go ahead and take the opportunity to do so now. Thanks again and enjoy your weekend. See you next week. Bye.